Hi, and happy Friday. We will get started in just a minute. Let me get my light turned on so that you can see. Hopefully that will help a little bit. We are going to be using today the Thankful Garden bundle. And then I am also going to be combining this with a couple of different word stamp sets and kind of show you how you can interchange some of your words from different stamp sets if you don't have a specific one. So I'm hoping that that will help you to purchase a card kit and know how to incorporate the stamps that you already have. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So my camera is a bit off kilter. Hopefully you can see everything. I think you can. So as we get started today, we are going to be using the Thankful Garden. And in this first card, we're going to be using the Pattern of Friendship. This is a stamp set I have not used before, but I really like it. It has some great sayings on it. It says, "Thanks for being the best, bestie. Thinking of you brings a smile to my face. Happy birthday. Let's keep in touch. You bring so much joy and laughter to my life." And I really like this one a lot. Friends are the family you choose for yourself. So very, very nice sentiments. And then for our embellishments today, we are going to be using the Adhesive Backed Sparkle Gems. I love these gems. They come in champagne and then kind of a silver. I think it's silver. No, actually it's called white and then black. But I just like them because they definitely give a shimmer. Using things like black and white, it still gives it a pretty finish. So with that said, let's get started with the first card. One thing I wanted to tell you is that Stampin' Up! Will no longer be using host codes. And they are starting with a new rewards program that is pretty cool. So you can shop with me by using this QR code or looking up my name, Linda Weber, and you will find me and you can shop with me. And when you do that, if your order is $35 or more, by next Thursday, I am now extending this for the whole week because of the reward system, then you will earn 10% on your rewards for orders of $20 or more. If your order is $35 or more, I will send you the card kit. And if it's $50 or more, I will also send you a full package of these embellishments. So I will talk a little bit more about the rewards at the end. They don't start until the 15th, which is next Tuesday. So that's one of the reasons I'm extending the ordering special until Thursday, the 17th. But if you would like to get more information on this, you can join my email list at inkycreationsbylinda.com. And I will be sending out an email. I sent one out this morning, but I will probably repeat that on Monday so that you can be ready to place orders on Tuesday using the new reward system. So if you would like to get information on that, feel free to go to my website and it will bring a pop-up so that you can join my email list, and then you will get more information on that. So let's go ahead and get started with our first card. Let's see, let me get all of our stuff out. For some reason, I put my measurements on the back of this one. So I want to make sure that I give you the correct measurements as we go along. So the first one is a white cardstock base, and it is 5.5 by 7 1/4. And then you score it at 4 1/4. So we are going to just use our bone folder and kind of burnish the edges on that. And then you will have a piece of Melon Mambo. And for some reason, when I was prepping this kit, I guess I was super excited about it, and I went ahead and glued down the DSP. So when you get yours, you will have to glue down the DSP, but I will give you the measurements of that. The Melon Mambo is 2 3/4 by 5 1/4, and this DSP is 2 1/2 by 5. So you will glue this down, and then before you glue this onto your card, you will take some of the ribbon that will be included in your kit, and you will wrap this around this piece right here. I will show you a way that I do this. You could wrap it all the way around and tie a bow. I like to just wrap it. Hi, Tammy. I just saw you on here. I like to just wrap it and kind of tuck the ends behind it. And then that way you're not using an entire piece of ribbon. And then I also like to just do a separate bow and put it over here, because I just find that my bows don't always end up in the right direction if I tie them around, but if I tie them separate and use a glue dot, then they do. So we're going to do it what I call the cheater way today, and we are just going to wrap this and then we will tie a separate bow. So let's trim our ribbon and wrap this on the back of here. So to do this, I like to use a piece of the double-sided tape. You can use your Stampin' Seal if you like. I like doing it this way because I just find, and I'm going to kind of do it in the middle, I just find that doing it this way lets me sandwich that ribbon so that I don't wind up with the ribbon falling off. So then we will put a piece right here, and then we will peel off the edges or the top portion of this, if I can get it to come off without taking both sides. And then same thing on this side. All right, and then we are just going to take this ribbon and kind of fold it down over that double-sided tape to where it's where you want it to be. And then we will kind of pull it tight and do the same thing on the other side. Then I usually will flip it over to make sure it's positioned where I want it to be, because you can still adjust it at this point, and that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do to make sure that this holds is I'm going to take another piece of the double-sided tape. I've got black ink on my fingers, and then I am just going to put this over that like that, and that way it kind of holds that ribbon down. You could also hold it down with something like dimensionals or something like that, but I just like doing that because I feel like it's kind of a double whammy to make sure that it's not going to come apart on me. So, and we will just adhere this down to the front flap of our card. So that's easy enough. And we will just kind of center this and put that down. All right, so there we go. That's the first part. You will also have a piece of Pretty in Pink cardstock, and this is just 1 by 4, and we are going to stamp on this, "Friends are the family you choose for yourself." I just love that saying. I think it's really pretty. And sometimes we like our friends more than we do our family, so it can be very appropriate at times. All right, so there we go. And then we are going to just stamp this on the Pretty in Pink and just try to center it. And I don't think I got that straight. So we're going to do it again on the other side and see if I can do that a little better. One of the things that I have learned, I actually heard this from someone else, so it is not original, but they said this is the reason God gives us 2 sides to cardstock, because that way if we don't get it right the first time, we can try again. All right, this time we'll try to hold our tongue a little better. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. And then we will take this on this and adhere it that way, and then that way I can put it on up above and below the ribbon. So let's use some dimensionals. Let me grab our larger ones. If I can find where I put them. I know they were here. Here it is. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. So I am just going to put some of these. I'm going to put them kind of close to the edge on the top and the bottom, just to make sure that it covers up where that ribbon is. Because I don't want them to just stick straight to the middle, because if it does that, it kind of defeats the purpose of grabbing the paper. Timmy, I saw your comment. I totally understand. But sometimes you just make the best of it and keep on going. All right, so we are going to put this on here, and I'm going to push it a little bit to the right, just because I want to leave room for my bow over here on the left, okay? So before we put the bow on, we're going to go ahead and decorate the inside. So you will have a piece of designer series paper that is a black and white stripe, and it is 4 by 5 1/4, and so we are going to adhere that to the center of our card base. By the way, the paper that we are using for this is the Lovely Garden, and I just love all of the papers in here. They're so pretty and just, I don't know. I've always liked black and pink together, so it makes it really easy with this set to do that. But I just really like all the papers in here, because there's so much you can do with these. And I think this is already my second or third set of cards to make with this. I just think it's gorgeous. The colors are stunning. And, you know, when I first saw it online, I really didn't think it would be super spectacular. But, oh my goodness, when you see it in person, it's just even prettier than what you would have thought. All right, so then you will have a piece of white cardstock that is 2 3/4 by 4. And so on that, we're going to stamp, "Thanks for being the best." So that is going to be the inside of our card. And obviously, these all come from the Patterns of Friendship stamp set. But if you have a different stamp set that you want to change out the words, you can certainly do that, because this paper set could be used for sympathy cards, birthday cards, just so many different occasions. And so you could use it for Mother's Day. I think it would make beautiful Mother's Day cards. So we are going to take this and put this on the center of our piece. Now, one thing you will notice is whenever you close it, it will show, and I kind of did that intentionally because I liked breaking up some of that black and white just a little bit. Yes, Tammy, this is the one you told me that you wanted. So let me just throw some adhesive on here. If I can get it to come out. There we go. I just opened up a brand new bottle of this, and I didn't want it to go flying out. So I was trying not to squeeze very, very hard. All right, so we are just going to center this, or try to. All right. And then, so now here is our card. So let's decorate the front. So I am just going to use this black and white gingham ribbon. I think it's actually black and very vanilla, but I just love this. It's versatile to use with a lot of different paper packs, but I really like the black and white ribbon. And it really brings out some of the darker colors in this particular DSP pack. All right, so then we will just trim this off. Move this off to the side. I hope you guys have had a nice week. I feel like my week has been crazy, but they've all been that way lately. So I guess it's what keeps us going, right? So then I'm just going to use a mini glue dot and put this over here on the side. You could move it up a little bit if you wanted, or, you know, you could do it on the corner at a slant that way. And then we are going to use these Adhesive Backed Sparkle Gems to decorate this. These are the ones I was saying, they're just so pretty because they kind of have a sparkle to them. I don't know how well you can see that, but the white ones are beautiful. I love the black, because how many times do we have black glitter, which is really fun. So we are going to put a few of these on our card. So we'll put one right here. We'll put another one kind of down here on that, and then we'll put a smaller one up here. And then if you want to, you could put a couple more, just randomly wherever you'd like to put them. Tell you what, we'll put one right over here too, just to kind of emphasize that. So this is card number 1. How fun would that be to get in the mail? Friends are the family, cannot talk. Friends are the family you choose for yourself. Thanks for being the best. Super fun. All right, so our next card is going to be, let me put these off to the side so that I can show all of them to you at the end. And you can tell me which one you like the best. Our next card is going to use, in addition to the Thankful Garden, we're going to be using this set called Fancy Borders. Now this one has some really cool dies that go with it, and we are not going to be, well, I guess I did use one of the dies today because I cut out a bunch of these little hearts, but it has some really pretty bordered edges and stuff. I've actually used this set once before in a card kit a while back. But the sayings on this one say special delivery, sent with love, to and from, so it'd be great for tags, just because, and a little hello with a lot of love. So we are going to use the one that says just because, and I don't think, let me see, did I put anything on the inside? I did not. So those are the only ones that we're going to be using with this one. So let's go ahead, if I can get it out of the envelope, and pull all of our pieces out. And so one of the things that you're going to find, so you will have a bunch of these little, well, you'll have 3 of these little hearts, which are really fun, and then all of these other pieces. So this particular set, let me give you the measurements. This one is 5.5 by 6 3/8, and it's scored at 4 1/4. So it's another fun fold, and then that goes on the inside. We'll set that off to the side, and then on the front you will have a piece of garden green, which is, where's my measurement? 2 by 5 3/8, and then a piece of DSP, which is 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And so we are going to adhere those together and then put these on the left side of the front of the card. So let's do that really quick. If you have not gotten any of this paper, I'm telling you, once you see it, you will just be blown away at how bright and cheerful it is. It's so pretty. I do too, Tammy. I enjoy them. And this one is kind of a simple one. It's not overly complex. Some of the fun folds that are out there are so cool, but I don't know. I feel like they're a lot, especially if you're not in person. You could probably still do it online. I just feel like it's a little more challenging. All right, so then you will also have a piece of crushed curry that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2, And then you will have a piece of white that is 3 1/8 by 4 3/8, and this is embossed with the exposed brick. So we are going to adhere this to this. So let's put some glue on the back of that. All right. So one of the things I do try to do is if something is embossed, I do try to put a little bit more adhesive on the back than normal, just to make sure that it really holds it good. And then once you have that done, we are going to kind of put this in the middle right here. So I just want to put adhesive right here because I don't want it to stick to the back of the card. So let's throw some adhesive back here. And then this is why I like the glue, because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room time, because I used to use the seal a lot more, and once you kind of stick it down, you can still pull it up sometimes, but sometimes it's a little more challenging. All right, so let's go ahead and do the inside of the card, and then we'll decorate the front. So you will have a piece of this DSP, which is 4 by 5 1/4. And so we are going to glue this into the center of the inside of the card. And I did not put a message on the inside of this card, and I will explain why in a second. Let me make sure I get this straight so I don't mess it up. There we go. All right, so this is going to be one of those cards, and the front is going to just say just because, but I did not put a message on the inside just because I wanted to leave room for someone to write a message. You could always take some of the flowers or, you know, die cut some extra hearts or something like that. Whoops. The other thing I want to do, I forgot to mention this, is when you're doing a card like this, to make sure it is placed where you want it to be, you can set it like this with the front part laying open, and then just very gently bring your back piece up, and then it will place your paper in the right spot. And then you always have a little bit of extra wiggle time, but then that way, whenever the card is actually not going to show the inside piece, which is kind of nice. So that's what we're going to do there. Now, this part, this is where the magic of TV is going to happen, and you're going to be excited that you don't have to wait and watch me cut all of this out in the whole 9 yards. You are going to get to watch me color, because I did not color one of these ahead of time. But hopefully it won't be too terribly long, and we can kind of get through this. But you're going to have a large piece of white DSP, or I'm sorry, white cardstock, and you will just stamp this with the Thankful Garden stamp, or if you have another floral stamp that you prefer or you already own, you can do that. But since we have the magic of TV, I have already die cut this out, and we are going to color this in. So I am going to use Daffodil Delight on this, and I am going to do, this is the dark, so I'm going to do this part first and just kind of do some accents with the dark, and then we'll come back with the light and kind of blend everything in. And I usually just try to do one flower at a time, because I want to blend my colors as best as I can. I do think I need to, I have had these Daffodil Delight blends for a really long time, and I think I need to get some new ones, just because I feel like the lighter one is lighter than I want it to be, and I think it's because it's maybe starting to run out of ink. I'm not sure. But that's what I'm going to go with, so I can have an excuse to buy another set, because they're so pretty. Because as you can tell, the darker one has no problem, but I just feel like the lighter one is a little bit lighter than I want it to be. Okay, Sorry for all the squeaking. At least you know it's the marker and not me. All right. You know, I was never a real big yellow person, but I really like some of these colors. They're so nice. Okay, so let's do the other one. So hopefully this isn't too terribly painful for you to watch this. It's always more fun when you get to do it, right? And then I'm going to color some of these little things just to give it a little bit of depth. And then we'll do a little bit here. I'll tell you what, we'll kind of do just a little bit around there. Maybe a little bit of shadowing over here. And then we'll come in with the lighter one and just kind of blend these together. If you have not used our blends before, I am going to tell you, they are fantastic. I have a really good friend who likes to do a lot of different types of art media and mixed media stuff, and she just raves about our blends and how great they are. And I feel like that's a huge compliment coming from her, because she has used every type of Copic marker you could ever imagine. And so for her to go on and on about the blends and how good they are, that just says a lot. But they really are just great. And even if, I mean, I am not an artist by any means, but I feel like my stuff that I use the blends on always ends up coming out nice. And it's not because of me. All right, so on the leaves, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do a bunch of this to make this go a little quicker. All right, and then we will come in with the lighter one, and let's go ahead and, when I was coloring something earlier today, I did a huge just swish, and I was like, oops, that wasn't part of it. So one of the things that I've learned on this, which is kind of fun, is if you will leave a little bit of white space whenever you're doing this, it gives it almost like a watercolor effect, which is kind of fun. So, like whenever you're coloring them here, you know, you just don't try to color in every little bit. So like in this one, I don't know how well you can see this, but see how I left just like a couple of little pieces of white that are open? But if you do that, it kind of gives it a watercolor effect, which is kind of fun. And then obviously, one of the things that's nice about the blends is you can always go back over an area if you feel like it needs to be a little darker. And then if you want to get really ambitious, you can buy one of the color lifters and you can take off some of the color if you feel like it has too much. I have used those before, and they do work really well. I haven't done it in a long time, but they are pretty cool. All right, so let's see. We're going to leave just a little bit of white space on these just to kind of give it that kind of watercolor effect. And then obviously you could use our water spritzers on this too. Now, if you do that, you'll want to use the StazOn ink instead of the black Memento, because my understanding, if you do watercolor with the black Memento, is this will smear. The black part will. So you'll want to get the StazOn ink for that if you want to do that. I don't do a lot of watercoloring, so I don't use the StazOn quite as much. Okay, so we're going to leave a little bit of white space on that one. All right, so here is our flower, and look how pretty that looks. And believe me, that is all about the blends. It is not about me, because I am not that good at this at all. All right, so we're going to take this and use dimensionals and pop this up right here. So let's go ahead and grab some dimensionals and do that. So I am just going to put a few down just kind of randomly, just to make sure it holds. All right, and then we are just going to kind of angle this like this. Tammy, I just saw your question. Sure, and we're going to actually color one more. But what I do is I use the darker blends, and I like just color along the lines. And like, for example, whenever they have these lines over here, I just use the darker one and do that. And then I come back with the lighter one, and I just basically fill in the rest of the areas. So we will be doing it on the next card also, so I will try to kind of draw attention to that as I'm doing it. Okay, so then we are going to take, you will have a piece of this crushed curry that is, I think this is like 1x4 maybe, or 1x3, and you're not going to use the whole thing, but I just picked a stamp that says just because. And so we are going to stamp this and then trim around it with our paper snips. So I'm just going to kind of put it down in the corner because I just want to trim around it. I'm not trying to do anything special. So let me grab these, and we will just cut around this. And then I'm going to trim the bottom too because I didn't get it quite as straight. So let's do this so we can get it straight. This is one nice way to, if you stamp crooked, nobody ever knows because you just cut out around it. All right, so now I'm just going to take some dimensionals and put this down here. And again, this is one of those all-occasion cards that you could use for anything. It could be because someone just lost a loved one, or maybe you were just thinking about them and you just wanted to tell them to have a good day. So that's the nice thing about this type. Let's see. All right, so I am just going to take this and kind of put it off to the bottom of that leaf. And then we are going to use our black and very vanilla ribbon, if I can find it. Here it is. And tie a bow. And then I did use that die set that I was talking about, the fancy borders. And I cut out some of these little hearts because I thought they were super cute. And we're going to use them to put kind of on the front of this card as well. I think this would also be a pretty Mother's Day card. If you are looking for something like that for a mom or a grandmother or even a daughter-in-law, or something along those lines. So, all right, so let's just kind of trim this out. All right, so we are going to use a mini glue dot and adhere this down to just this part so that it kind of is it's on the stem of that and just below the just because. And so then you will have 3 hearts in your card kit. And I'm just going to use mini glue dots to adhere these onto each one of these little hearts. So let's see, we have 1, and we will put it, whoops, the mini glue dot didn't come off my take your pick tool. There we go. We'll put 1 up here, and then we will put the other 2. We'll put, hey, Betsy. We'll put 1 down there, and then 1 right up here. Whoops, if I can get it off my finger. We'll stick that one right there. And now we will take, you know what, I'm going to open up another pack of these Sparkle Gems because I am almost out of the small ones. Actually, I'm almost out of all of the black ones in that other package. And we want to make sure we have plenty for our cards. Because even though it seems pretty balanced to do 3 of these, sometimes it's fun to put a few more. So on this one, let's see, we will stick a big one, maybe right here. And then we'll put another big one, maybe up here, kind of not quite in the corner, but over to the right. And then we'll put a smaller one, maybe down here. All right, so there we go. This is card number 2. How fun. Just because, and obviously you could stamp anything you want to on here, or you could just use it, leave it blank to write your message. So that is card number 2. All right, so let's do our last card. And I will tell you, I think all 3 of these, I really like them a lot. But I think the last one is probably my favorite, just because it's pink, which is always fun. And I really have always kind of been a purple person, but sometimes pink is also very pretty. All right, so we are going to start off with, whoops, and we're going to have the magic of TV again with another die cut, so you don't have to watch me die cut. All right, so we are going to start off with a pretty and pink cardstock base. And this one, what I've done is whenever it's scored, it's trying to reconnect. Okay, there we go. This is cut just down to the score line at 1 1/4 inch from the edge on both sides. So the first thing we're going to do is take our adhesive. We're going to glue these 2 sides down before we do anything else, okay? So we will just put some adhesive on here, and we will, whoops, just kind of close this up. I try to make sure I get these even. Some days it's a little easier than others, but it should, if it's scored in the middle, it should work. So I try to get it there, but every now and then it might be off just a tad. So we're going to do the same thing on this side and just adhere this and then push that down. And then you will have 2 pieces of this flowered DSP, and these are both 1x4. So we're going to put these on the side. So let's glue those down. Go ahead and just put glue, whoops, on both of them. So we just want to get a nice even border all the way around. Kind of press that down a little bit. And then same thing with this one. And do it on the other side. And then kind of press this down. Whoops, there we go. See, this is what I love about the glue, is it gives you a minute to kind of get it in place in case you don't always get there the first time, which sometimes I don't. All right, then you will have this piece of DSP, and this one is 2 3/4 by 4, and this is going to fit right in the center right there. So we will, yeah, I love this paper. I mean, I don't think there's a side on this that isn't just really nice. All right, so we are going to put this right here and just press this and get our borders all even and put everything into place. All right, so you will have a large piece of cardstock like this, and you will use that big flowered stamp like we did a minute ago, but I'm not going to make you watch me stamp it. Instead, I'm going to show you that it's already been stamped, and all you will have to do is either fussy cut or die cut this out. If you do not have the dies, you can fussy cut this out. And we are going to use the Melon Mambo blends. So I have the dark Melon Mambo that I'm going to use first. And so what I'm going to do, and I know Tammy, you wanted to know a little bit more. So I am just going to simply go along the lines that Stampin' Up! Has already put in the stamps and just kind of, you know, do some dots where there's a bunch of that, and then just kind of put little streaks. And the other thing that I try to do is like these little places like this, I just will fill those in a little bit. And sometimes just to add some extra shadows, I will go along one of the sides where I don't have a lot of stuff and just add some of that dark tint too, just to kind of give it a little bit of depth whenever it gets colored in. And then we'll do that. Maybe we'll do a little bit up here. Just kind of emphasize that. Okay, so then now we're going to come along with the light, and we are just literally going to color all of this in. Okay, and again, if you want to give that watercolored effect, you can do it really light in some places and leave a little bit of the white showing so that it gives it kind of a watercolor effect, or you can fill every little inch in, because at the end of the day, it's your card and you can do it however you want. Sometimes I try to make sure I go in the same direction whenever I'm coloring these, but sometimes I just kind of fill it in and don't really worry about that. But see how I have a couple of little white spaces? I'm just going to leave those just for an effect, just to kind of not color in every little bit. Let's see, that's part of the flower. Sometimes I find that's the hardest thing too, is figuring out which parts of the stamps really belong to the flower and which parts are, you know, just supposed to be for leaves. Because I have been known to color in a pink leaf, but, you know, at the end of the day, hopefully nobody's offended if I'm sending them a card. All right, so you can tell that I did leave a few of the little white spaces open, and I'm going to do that. So let's do the other one. So we'll just put some random little streaks with our darker marker. And I just try to use the lines that Stampin' Up! Gives us, just because I feel like they kind of gave us that as a guide for a reason. And we'll just kind of do a little bit of shadowing. We'll do this little bit right there, and then maybe a little bit up here. And then we will use the lighter color and go ahead and color in the rest of it. And you can tell by the way I'm doing this, you do not have to do it all in the same direction. I mean, you can, and there's probably advantages to doing it that way, but you do not have to. These blends just make it look so pretty. Another thing to be careful of, and like this paper is pretty good. This is just the basic white cardstock. It is not the thick or anything like that. But if you're not using good cardstock, these markers will bleed through some. So if you're not using the Stampin' Up! Cardstock, I would be careful of that. But in this case, it does good. But see how there's just a couple of places where I left it a little bit lighter, or I didn't color it in all the way. And it just kind of gives it a little bit different effect. All right, so let's do the green. And I'll try to make this go quick so that you're not sitting here all day. Okay, and then we will color in, I think I just colored my finger green, which is always fun. So I'm just going to take the lighter color and now just kind of go up and get these other parts and then just color this in. All right, whoops, sticking to my fingers. All right, let's try this. And the blends are nice too, because like, if you want to go back in, like this one's kind of, you know, you can really see. So sometimes I'll just come back over it with the lighter color just to give it a little bit more depth. And it really kind of pulls those colors together, which is always nice. You know, the other thing you can do too, which is always fun, is if you mess up and you go outside the lines, just tell your friends that. So that way they can't say, man, you colored outside the line. Say, nope, I was giving you a watercolor effect. See, I almost did it right there where I went right outside, but I caught myself. So we didn't do that. But I can guarantee you I've done it before. All right, so now just kind of blend that in a little bit. Same thing over here, just kind of go back over it just to give it a little bit of depth with that lighter color. And then you can also, like, to me, this kind of looks a little bit bland. So I'm just going to do just a portion of it in that same color, light green. And it just kind of gives it a little bit more depth so that it has kind of almost a shadowy look. All right, so now you're going to take this and put this on dimensionals and glue, or not glue, but adhere that to the top. So I am just going to throw some dimensionals on here. I will show you in a minute, but in this Thankful Garden stamp set, there is another flower on here that's really pretty. I just didn't use it today in the cards that we did, but it's really pretty too. One thing that's nice about this time of year is it's nice to start seeing people put flowers out. I know that's one of the things I've always enjoyed doing. Okay, let's see. And I don't have a ton, but we do have a few. All right, so then we will tie another bow with our ribbon, and then we are going to stamp in a second just the word friend and put that on the top part of this. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of show you today, boy, I made that really long, is I just wanted to show you how, you know, sometimes if you don't have an exact stamp set, you know, like in this case, if you just have the designer series paper, and most of us have at least one stamp set with flowers and one with words or both. And so you can incorporate anything you already have, which is nice. And you don't have to get every one of them. It's always fun to get new ones, but if you don't have them, you don't have to go out. You can still make the cards, and they're just as pretty, even with other words. So I'm going to put that right there. And then we are going to take, you will have a smaller piece of cardstock, and we are going to stamp the word friend on here. So let me grab our Memento Black. And we are just going to stamp that down in the bottom corner so that I can cut around it. As you can tell, we're doing a lot of cutting around the sentiments today. Sometimes that's kind of nice because it's just easier than doing a big label all the time. So we're going to cut that side at an angle and then pop this out like that. So we will put some dimensionals back here. Where's my small ones? Here they are. And then I am going to just put this up here to where it's kind of hanging off just a little bit, so that whenever you open this up, it kind of hangs just a little, not a lot, off that edge. And then on the inside, oh, I forgot this part. Let's make sure we do this, because this is kind of fun. So I'm going to grab some scratch paper, because on the inside, I want to stamp a small piece of that flower right there on the edge. So let me grab my ink again. We're not going to do a lot, but we just want to do enough to where we can add some of that beautiful pink, the Melon Mambo pink color. So we're just going to do like this. And then let me set that down without dropping everything. Okay. And then we will use our same Melon Mambo. Tell you what, before we do that, let's stamp. And this, you know, I did not show you this. Let me grab this. These words are coming from the Tag of Thanks stamp set. It says, friend, I appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. So lucky to know you. You made my whole day. Thank you, and you're the best. So we are actually going to stamp so lucky to know you on this one. So let's grab our stamp. Is this it? Yep. All right, let's see if I can get this straight, because I definitely need to get it straight since I've already put the flower on here. There we go. All right, so let's put the lid on this before I mess it up. So now we're going to use our blends and kind of color this flower just to give it, whoops, I want the other side. I don't tend to use the artsy tip very often, just because I like the blunt end, because I feel like I can control where the ink's going a little better. And then we'll do a little bit right here, a little bit over here. Make sure you can see me. And then we'll just put this one over just a little bit, then a little bit right there. Okay, so let's grab the smaller one, or I'm sorry, the lighter one. This is why I wanted to have the scratch paper though, so that if I go off the edge, it's not going on our glass mat. And the other thing too is when I do this, I do tend to color it before I adhere it onto the card, because sometimes it does bleed through a little bit. But the biggest thing is you don't want to do it if you're going to go off the edge, because you don't want to get your markers all over the edge of your card. Alrighty, so there we go. So now we have that part of that. There is like a little leaf. If you wanted to, you could go back and color that into. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And then we will put some adhesive back here. I think I got a little heavy-handed up here on this one part. Whoops, but hopefully it won't bleed through if I can pick it up. All right. So then we are just going to adhere this to the inside. But I love the way the Melon Mambo looks next to this pretty and pink cardstock base. It's just really fun. Okay, so there we go. I did get a little bit of glue. Let me wipe that up. Here we go. So that we don't end up with glue everywhere. Okay, so let's decorate the front of this with our embellishments. So let's grab a couple of big ones, and we'll put one right here. We'll put another one over here, and then maybe a small one down here. Okay. So this is card number 3. How fun is that? All right. So if you would like a card kit to make these 3 cards, tell you what, we'll do it like this here, and then let's do the other one over here. If you would like a card kit to make these 3 cards, then if you would want to place an order with me by next Thursday on the 17th, then I will send you a card kit to make these 3 cards. Everything will be included in your kit. The ribbon, the DSP, as well as the card bases. The only thing that will not be included will be the embellishments. But if your order is $50 or more, then I will include a full pack of the embellishments that look like this. So if you would like that, starting next Tuesday, they will be doing the Stampin' rewards. So for every for any order over $20 before tax and shipping, you will receive a coupon for 10% of your order. So if your order is $50, you'll get a $5 coupon. If it's $20, you'll get a $2. But you can hold on to those coupons and use them all at once, or you can redeem them every time on your next order. If you would like more information on that, please leave a comment below, or you can join my email list by going to inkycreationsbylinda.com, and I will be sending out more information. I did send out one email this morning explaining that new procedure, but I will be resending that probably Monday or Tuesday, since the program starts on Tuesday morning. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you would like a copy of the new catalog that will start in May, and you don't have a demonstrator that is sending you one, please leave a comment below and I'll be happy to send you a catalog. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for watching either the live or the replay. I really appreciate your support. So thank you, and have a great weekend. See you next week.